This conference
Before
will
we
now be
start,
recorded.
the following topics, I would like to update you that I have already shared the details with the basis in order to activate the necessary components and the OData services for uh, Fiori application. But I think I haven't received any response yet. So as soon as I get some response, probably I can update something to uh, you all through the coordinator. So what exactly has been identified, uh, which I shared with Basis. So from Fiori application point of view, whatever we built, that was absolutely fine. The only thing it was not accessing because of the OData services and the component activation. So, so MDC and master data governance and mass processing implementation information. Here you have 1909, or rather you can select 1909, this one as well. And this is the note, and this is the front end component. Mainly if I go to the configuration part, this is the UI component which we followed, only this part. So these OData services, what we have seen that in our system, this OData services was missing. Rest, rest of them was there, but this was missing. So that I wanted to check with the basis. That is the first thing. And then we followed with the technical configuration. If you remember that we created the catalog from the standard catalog, we created the catalog tile, we assigned those catalog tile in the group, we assigned the catalog and the groups in the MDG role. So these are all activities. And the only thing which I wanted to cross check with him, that was application component. So this is the application component. I wanted to cross check with him whether it is available or activated for this. Okay. Apart from that, I think everything is in place in order to perform the necessary process. Okay. So as soon as I get some information, I will update that through coordinator. So now today I will continue with the enrichment topic. In the enrichment topic, we will have a case study. We will have the generic discussion. By the way, generic issues. In every chapter, whenever I discuss the topics, whatever the generic issues, uh, the possible generic issues can happen, that I almost cover. I don't think so. I have anything specific to speak here. Already chapter wise we discussed. Then we also discussed the Fury configuration last week. And then we need to discuss this MDG EAM model. Okay. So this is the two things which we need to talk about. So let's quickly start about the case study. I will talk about, look, first of all, if I talk about starting with the data model and then UI and then, uh, you know, the data validations, derivations, we come across a different type of demonstration. We come across particularly, I remember the UI field properties where we uh, deal with the feeder class implementation with various uh, scenarios, like to make some field mandatory, to make some field grayed out, to make some field value as a search value, then derivation factors, etc., etc. right? If you remember. Here we have field property activities to make certain field mandatory, to make certain field get out, to make certain field not visible, to make certain field value F for values, to make certain field default values, derivation on UI. These are all things. So these are all different scenarios, okay, which we come across. Similarly, for data model, we come across a different scenarios like adding the custom entity, adding the custom attribute, etc. Similarly, for the data validations and derivations, we come across. So today I will talk about a particular case study, which is a very common case study. Like almost every project, you can expect that such kind of activity may come. Okay. So that case study I'm going to discuss today. And what is that? The the objective. The objective of the case study is, the objective of the case study is identify the number of MDG change request, MDG CRs, which violates the SLA. Okay, so this is something which is very common, item which almost every project we need to come across. So identify the number of change requests which violate the SLA. We have to understand that all the process when we are following through change request, whether it is a creation, whether it is a change, or whether it is extension, whatever it is, or block unblock, that means business has really some need to about the change request, because through change request everything is happening. So if someone is accessing the change request, it is important to close the change request on time, right? So that's what it is important for business to track them. And in order to track them, we need to build some mechanism where we can identify the change request details weekly basis, monthly basis, bi-weekly basis, or annual basis, etc. So accordingly, we can progress. We can probably we can see what are those area needs to be improved. Probably some approvers which are not taking seriously in order to approve the change request on time. We can probably mobilize them. We can probably educate them. Okay, so this way we can do. But in order to create the framework for that, I would like to share uh, one particular logic which I built some times back. So what is the objective? To implement the logic to update BI table for SLA calculation with historical data. Historical data means I'm talking about the change request informations which has been done in past. Okay, so basically we are just going through those change requests in order to identify the SLA. So the first thing which I would like to start with first is the select query, the declaration part. But before we see the declaration part, first start with the query, and then wherever we can see the local variable or internal table or something, or local table, accordingly I will come across. The first is a select query, USMD underscore C request. So USMD underscore C request, USMD underscore created at, USMD underscore created by. These are all part of this USMD 120 C table. So if I quickly check this table, so USMD created by and created at. Okay, so the change request number what time the change request has been created, and it has been created by whom. So this is the three information. So this three information we are gathering from USMD 120C table, which is a change request information table. And we are taking those information into this internal table. And this internal table, you can see it is a table of some table type, which is a local table. So this is the table. This one. This one. Okay. Which is having change request number, secondly created at and created by. This is the local structure, which is a table type of this internal table, and whatever the information we are taking, we are storing those information into this internal table. Where, and the condition is where the change request type is YMAT01. You may have a different change request type. The change request type is YMAT02. YMAT01 is for creation. YMAT02 is for change. And YMAT and change request type YMAT06 is for mark for deletion. You may include some more change request type, but primarily these three change requests we have included. That means we want to see all those change requests which is having the change request type of creation, update, and the mark for deletion. And the active is that means it is now done. We will not see any record which is in progress. This is the case study which is for retrospection. Okay, not for the current, which is ongoing activity. It will not. Yes, in your case probably they will also interested to see in progress. Then you can probably add the in progress one. That means USMD data active means this one. This one. So whether the change request is activated or not. So that is the use of this field. So when I say X, that means it is activated. That means the change request is complete. So in this scenario, we are considering all the completed change request. Now you may understand, okay, when the change request is completed, why you are doing? Again, I repeat, this is for the retrospection. Okay, though the change request has been completed, whether the change request has been completed on time or it is not completed on time. So that it is like just to identify the SLA, whether it is meeting the SLA or violating the SLA. Okay. The next is this loop condition, and in the loop, so loop at internal table into work area. So this is the work area, which is a type of this structure. Concatenate the work area change request number, which is coming up, the change request number, and the string 2. String 2 is nothing but some zeros, around 6 zeros, into this local variable. So whatever the change request we are getting, those information we are concatenating, and we are storing those information into this local variable. Okay, if I see this local variable is nothing but this one. This is the local variable. Okay. Then we are calling this function module, SAP WAPI work item to object. Now in this program, whatever the function module we are going to discuss, they are a very important function module. May not be for this similar case study you may require them, but you may require them for other way around, means for other cases. So in such a way, in principle, those function modules are very, very important. Now first we need to understand what is this function module all about. Call function WAPI work item to object. Okay, so if I see this particular function, this function is basically helping to get the work item. What is work item? Like every change request having some work item, right? So if I go back and if I go to AC37, I cannot copy this from here. Work items to object. Okay. Now if I execute, okay. So in the execution, what I'm using, the object key is bus2250, which is the default business object. Bus2250. Then what next? This is the number which we entered here. So I may use some local change request number. So I can call NWBC and I can get some change request number. Or I can do one thing. Change request number. Let's say this one. So this number followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 zeros. Okay. Then what is next? Then the top level item is flag check. Then the selection status variant is 0. I think rest of the things are as it is. Now we can execute and we can see some, no. So from here, we are supposed to get some work item. Let's see. So message ID we receive. So work list is 0. Okay. Wait a minute. I think some input is wrong here. Yes. Go back. It has to be 0. Now execute. Languages. Okay. Wait a minute. This change request is not completed. Can we take some change request which is completed? Let's say this one. Wait a minute. Here, the string is 6 zeros and right. So if you see, though the change request is this one, but there is an unconverted form. So we need to consider that unconverted form. Now it will work. This now followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now execute. See, we get some. So what we get? We basically get the work item. The work item which we get here. This is the work item. And if we see this work item, SWIA. So this work item, this is the one. Okay. I can see still it is in progress. Okay. Fine. Then, so that means this number, every time you have, like, even though it's not about the change request, even though if you see material number or vendor number, this is the unconverted number which is followed by some zeros. When you go inside it, you can see converted number. Okay, so we have to consider with leading zeros. Okay, so first from here, what we are getting the work item. So from change request, we are getting the work item. Okay, then we are capturing that work item, and with that work item, what we are getting, we are now trying to understand some more details about the other work items. So SAP WAPI get dependent WIS. So the next one. So let write it down, the work item number. Now then the next one is SM37, sorry, AC37. This is now get dependent WIS. Execute. Then the work item ID. This is the work item ID. User, this is the SAP user, or probably, let's see, the user is system name. Okay, that's fine, SAP user. And I think the rest of the details are okay. Continue and see, there are other work items. which is this is the list. Now you have to understand here with the other work item details, we have this work item, I would say the work item category. So you can see in the work item category, they are B and W. What are those B? B means background job and W means foreground job. Okay, B and W. So that means those work items which is assigned as a B, those are the background work items, background activities, and the work item which is having W, that is the foreground uh, work item ID. So now our next activity will be to identify all the foreground activities. Why foreground? Why not background? Because foreground activity will capture the actions provided by requester and approvers. So we need to capture the actions from the approvers and requesters, rather mainly the approvers. Then only I can understand, okay, when this approver has given the approval, then the actual SLA identification will happen, right? So that's what we need to understand, all the W's. So the next thing will be, whatever the details we are getting, we will sort it out with W. We will sort it out with W's, and then we will sorting them in a descending manner. Whatever the W's, we will get it. Then the next part is, now so far till now we receive all the work items which was necessary for us, and those work items basically holding the details about the user actions. Okay, now the next thing which we will do, that is the timestamp calculation. That means you have to understand that when the request has received or arrived and when it is approved, and what is the time which has been consumed in between. So that time calculation we need to perform. Then again we are calling this SAP WAPI get work item detail. So this one, sorry, AC37 SAP WAPI work item details. Okay, now execute this. Okay, now the next thing is we are calling this function module, and what exactly we are passing through this, the again work item. Which are those work item? The work item which we sorted here, only the W's one. Very good. Then I need to capture one W. This is one W. So let me copy this. Okay, the same one I need to pass here. Okay, and now let's see, execute. structure. No. Work item details here. Okay. Now, see, in this work item details, that means this is the work item which is related to W. The type is W. That means it is the work item which has been processed by some approver, let's say. Okay. Now, this work item, when it has been processed, so there are couple of information which is very important here. WICD, WICT. Similarly, WIAED, WIAET. This four information, and finally agent. Agent means who is that person. Okay. And what is this CD and CAED? This is nothing but basically this is the CD and CET is date and time for arrival, and AED and AET is nothing but the date and time for execution. Okay, and this is the agent. So now here you can see the CD and CT. This is the date and this is the time which has been arrived. And then when I see AED, AET, this is the date and this is the time which has been completed. And then we have agent, which is SAP user, right? Okay. So then what we are getting from every work item, we are getting the details now. Then it will be clear here that who has made the lag, who has taken more amount of time in order to approve. Okay. And finally, we are just doing the time conversion, because it could be a possibility that someone is requesting from some region, and the other person who is approving, that person is probably approving from other region. So in order to avoid all the time zone factors, we will go with the UTC time zone, which is the standard time zone followed by system. Okay, for any time zone calculation, we will always go with the UTC time zone. So this is the way, and this is simply the time conversions which we made. And finally, what we are getting, so whatever each and every work item which we receive, those work items, we are finally passing those work item details with every index we are reading, and we are taking all the details and filling those details. Okay. So what is going to happen finally? Then we can identify the time calculations. And finally, we kept it into this report. So it is repeating. If you see, it's repeating. Okay, because every line it is. So if I have let's say 5 or 6 W's work item type, so those 5 and 6 work item types I'm reading. Okay, and finally we are taking them into this report. This is the table where we are actually storing it's like a ALV report kind of. Now it's not about the end here. You can do one more thing here. That is, you can ask your BI BW team to extract the data from here and put it into the BI BW application with the proper pie chart and with the proper graphs. So monthly, bi-weekly, annually, you can see what is the progress, right? Because if it is in the table, that's fine. You can probably extract into a spreadsheet, you can do the calculation. But when you present this information to the higher management level, because this report is purely for the higher management level, okay? It has no other relations with, the delivery, the actual delivery. It is purely the monitoring activity, and in order to monitor this, you should have some pie charts, some graphs, and how you will get it. So you need to, again, when you have a data in the ALV report, this data you need to pass on to your BIBW system in order to get some reporting details, like with some graphs, some pie charts, etc. Okay. So this is one of the case study which almost every project demand. And this particular logic has been already shared in the SharePoint. Please collect this, and you can run this logic in your local system, and that will perfectly run. Okay. So this is the one which I wanted to discuss as a part of case study. Apart from this, there is thousands or uh, uh, thousands and thousand case studies we can talk about. But every project is different. Every project having the different requirement, and accordingly we need to carry on. So this is the case study categorically I wanted to discuss. Then I will come to the MDG EAM model, which is enterprise asset management. By the way, majority of the project, okay, like 90 to 98% project, they use the basic domain like business partner, including customer and vendor, material master, and finance. There are certain projects where they use beyond this. Like there are certain model like fashion management and the enterprise asset management. Those models, they are actually another data model, just like or BP. They have again plenty of informations within them, and they have a specific purpose to use. Okay. Now let me start with EAM, but before that, let me open the relevant uh, document for that. I just unshare my screen for a while. Okay, I share my screen. Okay, so this is the architectural design, and in this architectural design, this is the design which is more or less you familiar with, because this is the same design which we discussed for customer, like business partner, customer, vendor, material master, etc. Where we have the extreme left, the source, the extreme right, which is target, and in middle we have MDG hub. So here basically MDG is getting the information from source, whether it is some SAP system or non-SAP system or etc. MDM system, etc. And then in MDG we process the data and we send the MDG data to the target system. It could be another SAP system, ECC system, I mean, or it could be a CRM system, SRM system, or some third-party system, etc. Okay. And then we may have some middle layer also, like a PI, PO, if we are connecting with some third-party system, etc. So you can see in MDG hub, we have beside customer, vendor, finance, material, also we have EAM, which is Enterprise Asset Management. Now the question is, why Enterprise Asset Management? Why we are not doing the things by using customer, vendor, finance, and material? Why additionally this model was needed? The reason is, whenever I can give you one example, let's say company A taking over company B. Okay. So in that case, B having some direct asset like some customer value, some asset value, etc., etc., like tangible and intangible values, I mean. Okay. And then those values will be calculated. And when it is acquiring, like A is acquiring B, okay, in that case, that value has to be calculated in a proper way. So in that calculation, basically everything will come together in terms of customer, vendor, finance, material, everything comes into one umbrella, which is nothing but EAM. Okay, where you basically take consider the value of material, you consider the value of customer, you consider the value of vendor, you consider the value of finance as well, right? So that is the reason we need this model. Now the next question is, what are those components we have in this EAM? Basically the components which we have, that is equipment master, functional location, MRO BOM, asset management, work center, task list, maintenance plan, measuring points, production resources, and object links. These are all major elements which we have. Like for material, we have basic details, then sales org, then plant, then classification, characteristics, warehouse detail, plant details, etc. Right? So this is the major elements. Now this is the module which categorically designed by Utopia with the collaboration with SAP. Now this is the document which can give you a complete understanding about this model. By the way, this model is not different than what we discussed so far. It is more or less similar what we have for material or customer or vendor, etc. Like it has starting with business function, like in normal uh, data model, if you see whether it is a material or a business partner or finance, we need to first activate the business functions. So here also we need to activate the business function. That is the first thing. Okay. So these are all business function. By the way, this document, I think, little old document. The new version. So this is the version which I can see up to 8.0. So if it is now 9.0 or 9.2, some more business functions will be added. Okay, but at least it can give you a basic understanding that I need to activate the business function, what I need to do for the other model as well. The next thing is we need to also set up some workflow, etc. Like then adjust profile parameter. This is the same list basically what we have done in out of box configuration, the very beginning session which we discussed. Okay. Then MDG rows. This is the rows, and these are all authorizations. Okay. And webbed intro applications. Genil model. So the data model which defined as UI, U1, sorry, not UI, U1. So we have for material for business partner BP, for finance OG. So here the data model which denoted as U1. Okay. These are all some SAP nodes which needs to be implemented uh, because of some reason that is related to some shared memory dump. If you want to avoid, you need to go through this OSS node. Then similarly, some more dumps. So to avoid those dumps, for some reasons, you need to implement those nodes. Might be for upcoming version, there will be some more nodes. So, or probably those nodes will be taken care whenever you go for it. Anyway, that you can cross check. This is the list of nodes which needs to be implemented. Most of the cases which I observe, those nodes already implemented in the system as soon as you activate the business function. But still you need to cross check in the transaction, uh, the wherever we see the node details, S node. Then this is the series of this. Then BC set activation. BC set activation, the transaction SCPR20, which is also part of out of box configuration. This is the same story which I am repeating, which we discussed in the very beginning of the session. Here we have, this is the activation of business function, activation of webbed intro services, authorization object, BC set configuration, adjust profile parameter. These are all. Okay. This is the same details which we are talking about. You can see this is the transaction which is also here. Okay. And then followed by BC set for HANA search. Okay. Then the processes. So first is, as I was talking about, the first is equipment masters. So this is the first one is the equipment masters. So in equipment master, we have create equipment, change or update equipment, mark for deletion for equipment master, and process multiple equipment masters. Like all this create, change, mark for deletion, and mass process. Okay. Second one is, what was the second one? Functional locations. Functional similarly create, change, mark for deletion, and mass. Third one is MRO BOM, bill of material. Here also the same. So similarly, whatever you have, the sections or the different elements, they each element having create, change, mark for deletion, and mass. So this is the process modeling basically, and then followed by then activate the data model U1. So once you activate the data model, you have basically these are all details: equipment, functional location, measuring point, maintenance plan, MRO BOM, work center, and task list. Now you can ask one more question. Whenever I will use EAM, whether all the types are needed? Not necessary. Some customers, they will say, I only need equipment master and functional location. Some will say, I need equipment master and MRO BOM. Okay. So it is not necessary that all this type you need to take care. Okay. But in this document, it has been nicely portray all the details, all the types, I mean. Then data model specific structure. This is the more or less same. Like what if I want to add some field, the way we discuss for BP or
Aditya, we
can you
can't
hear
hear.
me now?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
hear you
Okay.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. As I was saying that the way so you are following me when I was discussing all the different object types, right? Like create, change, mass, and mark for deletion.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes,
Okay.
Aditya.
So okay. So then I was actually talking about that the way like a data model specific structure, like the way we were adding some entities or some entity types for material master or BP, the same way we will follow. Process is same, only the data model name is different and some relative details are little bit different. Otherwise, the basic structure is same. Then activate the change request types, BC set. So these are all workflow templates, etc. Then straight away I will come to these. These are all BC sets for, uh, let's say, this is the BC set for equipment master and functional location. This is the BC set for, again, equipment master and functional location. Then this is the BC set for MRO BOM. This is also for MRO BOM. So likewise, then next one is the maintenance plan. Okay. So these are all different BC sets. So basically, if you follow this document, you can thoroughly implement the configurations. So these are all things which I'm not going that much of detail now. So this is the information which is respect to the BO type, whether it is a creation or change. Basically, what we see in the process modeling. So we have a BO type, whether it is a create or change or mark for deletion, etc., and followed by the UI details, the UI application details for uh, different types which we have. Okay, so this is the one. So this is for the MRO bill of material. For MRO bill of material, this is the BO type. This is for create, change, display, and delete, and these are all the following UI applications. Similarly, next one is work center. This is the UI details for the work center. Next is task list, then followed by equipment master, then followed by functional location. So these are all details of UI. Okay. This is a very detailed information, I would say. Okay, so these are all measuring point. Once this is done, then you have the business activity linkage. This is also given. So UI configuration followed by the business activity which you need to follow. This is for let's say equipment task, followed by MRO BOM, followed by maintenance plan, followed by measuring points, followed by work center, etc. Then this is also equipment task, manual entry required. So you need to maintain them manually, these details. So whatever you need, it's as I mentioned, you don't need everything. You probably need, let's say, MRO BOM, or you probably need functional location. So if it for whatever the details you need, you just need to enter those informations. Then followed by process modeling, the status. This is the change request status, and then you can obviously add up the new change request. Then the processes. So now here it is also given the details in that level where you can also see if it is a create equipment master, then what is the naming convention you need to follow. Then it is start with U, EQ means equipment master, one means create, two means change or update, three means display, six means mark for deletion, A means mass processing or mass update, B means import. So this is for the equipment master. Similarly for functional location, and what is that? This is the business activity, by the way. This is the business activity. Similarly, the business activity for functional location. Same way for MRO, bill of material, followed by measuring point, maintenance plan, etc., etc. Okay, and then the change request type. So you can see for create equipment, this is the change request type. Similarly, create functional location, this is the change request type. This is the data model followed by the workflow template and the entity types. So I would say it is a very detailed information. Okay. So this way you can maintain the change request type. And then also you have the UI configuration details here. So respect to the change, not UI configuration, I mean when in the process model you define respect to the change request type, the respective entity types, if there is any UI configuration and business activity. So those informations also given here. Okay. This is all process model. Then UI modeling. So this is the UI modeling, UI application configuration, and UI configuration. Okay, and this is for starting with equipment master, then functional location, then work center, then task list, etc., etc. Then setup search. This is for HANA based search. So for HANA based search, you have the search view, because search view contained the entity type, and entity type contained the entities or attributes. So here you have the search view, UGI EAM underscore MDG underscore EQ. EQ for equipment master. Similarly for FL, for functional location. Similarly for MBOM, bill of material. Similarly for maintenance plan, MPMI. Then work center, WC. So for different type, we have a different search view. Okay, and you just follow this search view. Whatever the fields are needed, you can tick those fields, etc., etc. Then duplicate check, like whatever the fields you needed. So this is the UI model, the followed search help, entity type, and then the UI model respect to the entity types. So these are all search views For equipment master, this is the search view. For functional location, this is the search view. Maintenance plan, this is the search view. Okay. And the duplicate check you can define. You can provide it the weightages, etc. So this is the search view. Then followed by the change request informations. These are all change request information for different types. Then adjust BRF plus object. So for BRF plus object, the way we created the rule-based workflow, similarly you can create that. Okay. With the different approval levels. Then replication. And the replication having this is the element ID and the relative business objects. And finally set up the replication with ALE. So this is the ALE whatever we discussed. This is the steps what we discussed in another day. Data replication through ALE IDOC or SOA manager, etc. But this is happening through ALE IDOC, not happening through SOA manager. Okay. So this is the detail. CLF must for classification, partner profile. Anyway, these are all I'm not repeating. This is already discussed, like the ALE IDOC replication steps. Replication with DRF. So all these 3 steps also. This 11, 12, 13 and 14, 4 steps. This is the step. Okay. And this is little bit on the same replication details. Data import framework. However, instead of data import framework, nowadays they will use consolidation and mass processing. Customizing ALE audit. So partner profile. And finally, some details about the role, PFCG roles, workflow template. So already we know why workflow template is required, etc., etc. Some detailing, nothing more. So this is the detailed document about the EAM, which is more or less same. Only here you have a different types, and based on the different types, you need to build accordingly. So this is all about enterprise asset management. Again, not all the projects require this, because as I mentioned, it is only required for a specific reason. Whenever that specific reason you have, you may use that. Okay. So having said that, we also talked about this MDG EAM model. Now with this, just have a quick look whether we have any pending item. I don't think so. Any pending item we have. So what are those things we have talked about? Once again, just relook. We talked about MDG introduction. We talked about data model. We talked about process model, UI model, search and duplicate check, workflow modeling, validations and derivations, replication and import, and then enrichment topic of MDG. Okay. So having said that, I think we completed all the agenda, whatever we have, and all the documents are already available in the SharePoint. So you can obviously go through those documents at any point of time. I also believe that you will also have the system access for some more time, so you can utilize the system. Okay. And if you have any further question during the project, if you face some difficulties, you may also discuss with me over the mail, obviously through coordinator. And if you feel that, okay, some additional session may be required to understand for a certain topics, okay, then definitely I will also help that. Please let us know through coordinator. Accordingly, we will schedule some session in order to discuss further. Okay. But I would say whatever the agenda we have, we completed today with all the agenda, the necessary demonstration. But by that time, you already understand that MDG is big. Has a huge area of expansion. So not possible probably to have a demonstration with every topic, but most of the topic we covered. Most of the topic, okay, uh, with various examples at least. Okay. Okay. So any question anybody has, we can probably discuss, or definitely we can keep in touch through the mail, obviously through coordinators. Okay.
Aditya, do you have like the list of tables and like BAPIs and like any like baddies or enhancements that MDG uses?
I think already we have listed this information. 1 minute. Let's say field properties. For field properties, these are all feeder class which we need to follow. Okay. Then similarly, you talked about body. Then we come to the body part. Here. So whenever we talked about like email notification, rule context preparation, parallel processing, dynamic agent, single entity, cross entity, if you remember, we shown that time all the relevant bodies which was associated with this topic, and also we have a documentation available in the SharePoint, and the same documentation we also explain during the discussion. Okay, so that is one thing. Next is also for search, particularly enterprise search and for database search, the relevant program which needs to be executed, etc., etc. That also we talked about. Then coming to replication, anyhow, uh, we also talked about the required classes which needs to be accessed for certain reasons. The reasons are already defined. Okay. So I think, and also you talked about transactions. So for replication, for an example, this is the activity and the respective transaction. So all the transactions are defined. Similarly, the basic tables you talked about, the basic tables and transactions also for role, these are all transaction which is needed. And for out-of-box configuration, also respective transactions we mentioned. Then at the beginning, okay, here we have business partner, then the beginning business partner, vendor master, similarly business partner, customer master, all the relevant tables for BP, the relevant tables for vendor, similarly relevant table for customer we discussed, followed by the steps, obviously. Same way, the tables for, let's say, DIF. DIF the relevant transactions, whatever needed, that also mentioned. Then coming to the Fury anyway we discussed. So I think even the change pointer, this is the relevant transaction for the change pointer. Sorry, this is the relevant transaction for the change pointer, and these are all transactions for IDOC reprocessing or to identify the IDOC, just display the IDOC, I mean. So these are all transactions. So I think all the details has been shared. Just you need to follow, that is the recordings. The recording you need to follow according to the chapters. So let's say you need some information about workflow, then you need to follow thoroughly the recording of the workflow. Then you can come across what are those relevant, let's say, roles or transactions or BRF plus details we talked about. Similarly, whenever you see some details about the some basic details, let's say you want to deal with some change request, then you need to see those videos where we followed the change request, create, change, mark for deletion, those things. Okay. And how ultimately the data is moving, which table, that also we discussed. Okay. I think we talked about all those things, but this is just a sheet. Tried to provide maximum information here. But still, if you have some confusion, some question, you may reach out through the mail. Okay.
Aditya,
Fine then.
hi.
Yeah, tell me.
Can I just raise a query which I just faced? I mean,
Yeah,
recently.
please.
Yeah, it is not regarding. It is actually regarding NWBC. In that, I just wanted to know what is the difference between when we are creating a material. Uh, I mean, in multi, what is the difference between just create a material and create a multi?
The multi and create material is when you just go for the create material, you basically create single material. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me open the system. So material master. So here, when you go for the create material, so at a time you are actually creating single material with a single change request. Multiple material is so like manage multiple material, okay, or the mass processing. For an example, okay, when you click on search material, so okay, let it open, so at least I can talk about. So what happens in multi processing of material is when with the single change request you process multiple materials. That is something is multi the multi material processing. Okay, so that's the difference between the just create material and multi material. That means mass change, or when multi material processing which you are doing, mass update you are doing basically. However, when you talked about this topic, let me inform you, down the line, I don't know which version in presently you are using in your current project, but when you see the upcoming versions which is available in the market, okay, right now they don't talk about, SAP doesn't talk about multi-record processing, whether it is for business partner or whether it is for material. Rather, they talked about mass processing. So where you basically you have an existing material, and that existing material you can update in a multiple materials with the single process ID, or rather single change request. Process ID is nothing but the change request ID. Okay, so that way we deal. Similarly, consolidation is for create multiple material at a time, or create multiple business partner, vendor or supplier or customer at a time. So that way we use customer. So though your project is using, but if you see the updated versions which is appearing with the service pack 2 or 3, I don't know exactly which is the latest version. I think SP2 is probably the latest one, or SP3. There they emphasize more on the consolidation and mass processing over multi-record processing. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is. So here you can see processing multiple materials. This is the one. Okay. So processing multiple materials, you have mass change basically. So which is mass change is now replaced with mass processing and consolidation. Okay.
So is there
Clear?
is there a chance that we can create also in multi processing?
That's what
Create a
I said.
material.
Multi-creation material or customer or vendor or BP is calling consolidation.
Okay.
When we are using consolidation process, there we are basically creating more than one material, or more than one business partner, or more than one supplier, or more than one customer. But when we are using mass processing, that means we already have the material in our system. We already have the existing BP. That existing BP or material we are updating. That is nothing but the mass processing.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So this is now like in S4 HANA, there is no mass change, there is no mass multi-processing. It's only consolidation and mass processing. I mean there is no mass multi-processing, there is only consolidation and mass processing. So SAP over the period of time tried to simplify the process rather than having mass change, then multi-processing. These are all different things. So make it very specific: consolidation and mass processing. Okay, follow my last discussion video, and whenever I get some clarification from basis, because anyhow we need to make it up that process. So whenever I get some clarification from basis, I will update accordingly, and you can go to the system in the S4 HANA instance. In the meantime, I will make it prepare. So already Fiori side, everything is fine. We have already created. Only the OData services and the component needs to be activated. As soon as it will activate properly, we can start accessing the consolidation and mass processing. Okay. Fine then. Any other question anybody has? Okay, fine. So you may not have question right now, but again I repeat, if you have any question, any clarification, please let me know over the mail through coordinator. So accordingly we will arrange further session, or if that is possible to respond over the mail, I will do that. So whatever it's necessary, definitely we will support accordingly. Okay. 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 Thanks for joining, and have a good luck for the MDG assignment in future. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Okay, thanks Aditya. Appreciate your time. Thanks everyone.